All right, welcome everybody to the next installment of the Permission to Do You in Your Marketing series. And today I have a fantabulously diverse panel that is here to talk to you about how you can do you in your marketing when it comes to your personal style and your brand design. So really imagine anything that is the external manifestation of your brand, anything that is visual. And we're going to be talking about all of those things today. So those of you who are joining us live, if you have questions for our panelists as we go, please feel free to pop them into the Zoom chat. If you guys are watching live on Facebook, please feel free, apparently I'm having trouble with that phrase today, to just pop them into the Facebook comments, and then I will share them with our panelists as well. So before we get started, I'm just going to give each of you an opportunity to do a quick little introduction about yourself. And I would love to know a time, so a quick little story from you, of when you realized something about your personal brand, what it looked like to do you in particular. So Melanie, I'm going to let you start.
Oh, I'm the first one. Okay, so I'm a personal brand stylist with over 20 years of experience in couture. I have also worked in fashion and in corporate, and I have a multicultural background. And I think because there's so many things that have influenced me from culture and from personality-wise as well, I think I have a very creative side and an analytical side. And I think sometimes people don't grasp that all. So it's really nice to tell the story through the way you show up. And I think especially if you're working in a bespoke service, which I've done for a long time as well, like with the bridal wear, in order to get a close connection to your clients, and Jenny is doing that obviously as well, you and Lauren, like wherever you have a very close connection to your clients, you need to show up authentically to connect with your clients, to understand what they're all about. And this is what you can also do through clothes, because that's the first thing they see. Before you even open your mouth, you can tell your story by the way you dress, and you feel comfortable as well when you show up authentically. So that's me.
Oh, I love that. And I actually have, if you guys go like back in time, quite a long way. When I met Melanie, it was a really interesting experience for me because I was in this place between my executive wardrobe and a mom wardrobe, which I wasn't super pumped about. And I wasn't super pumped about my executive wardrobe anymore. I just felt like I was a different person. And I didn't have very many clothes that made me feel like me, like the person I was today. And there was always like, I'm supposed to be this, I'm supposed to be this. And it was one of the greatest things that I got from meeting Melanie, was just being like, oh no, it's just that you're supposed to feel like you. You're not supposed to do anything else. So especially if you guys have any questions around that today, please feel free to pop them in the chat or the comments and we will pose them to Melanie. Second, let's go to Lauren for your intro, please.
Okay, yeah, hi, I'm Lauren. My business is Nell Creative. So I was a creative designer in industry, working in corporate and commercial, mainly in the stationery industry initially. As a creative designer for about 10 years, I've got 10 years experience. And then I kind of went into the branding and marketing industry as a creative designer, working on a lot of branding, design projects, logos, stationery, all those types of things. So now my own business, Nell Creative, I work with creative business owners as well as creatively minded business owners, because I think there's business owners out there that maybe not be creative businesses, but they're creatively minded, but they don't necessarily know how to put that in their business, right? So creatively, I create intuitive, hand-drawn, bespoke design for businesses so they can create impact and stand out in their business. That's anything from branding, logos, to business stationery, bespoke illustration, bringing content alive with illustration, things like that. And I would say I realized my personal brand. I would probably say I realized it when I left industry. Because when you're around so many other designers, you're kind of overshadowed. And then you go off and you do your own thing and you're suddenly starting to learn, oh, okay, yeah, I kind of do it like this. Or you're not really influenced, you're just doing it your way, right, to help other people. So I would say it's probably when I left corporate doing commercial projects and started my own business, which was about a year ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that it's really interesting because quite often when I don't even know if I would necessarily say that it's overshadowing, but there's almost like a framework that you work in when you're working for someone else. And when you no longer have that framework, you figure out that you do still need a framework. And there's only one person who can decide your framework. And it's you.
Yeah, you're right. There's kind of obviously particular guidelines that you have to work to for client projects, so you kind of can't go out the lines, if that makes sense. Whereas when you're running your own business and you're putting your own creative twist on, you can do whatever you like. So that's where it gets exciting.
Yeah. And I want to just, because I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but Lauren used the word creative a whole bunch of times. That's probably because she's very creative. Well. But there's, when you look at the ability to make decisions based on your personal brand, there's this unique creativity that is available to everybody. And I think too, when we grow up, we think there's like this one definition of creativity and it means that you're good at drawing. And like, I don't have that. But Lauren does, so you can ask her if you need someone who's good at drawing. But that doesn't mean that you're not creative. So this doesn't mean you're not a creative business owner, or that you can think of other words like innovative and things like that fall in the same category as creative. And so I think that's a great opportunity just to call that out, because I would love to empower everybody who's watching today or watching the replay that you have a unique way to be creative. And when someone super creative, by the classic definition, as Lauren uses that word, it reminds me that it is something that everybody can be.
Yeah, exactly. It can be the way you dress, creatively, the way you show up, your personality. There's all sorts of ways you can be creative. Writing, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
No,
so many ways. And even just like creative thinking, right? And let's go over to Jenny, because Jenny's got a different perspective on creative as well. So Jenny, please tell us who you are and what you do, and something that helped you realize what your personal brand is all about.
Sure. So I am Jenny Levine. I am based in Atlanta, Georgia. I am a personal branding photographer. So I work with business owners to help them sort of distill their brand and then communicate it visually through images. And these are images that they use on their website, on social media. There's if they want to do a speaking event, just to have a sort of a library of images that they can pull from that speaks to their personal brand and communicates it effectively to their clients, to their ideal clients and their audience. I think I've two parts to this on how I kind of realized my personal brand. One, well, it was actually in the mastermind with you, Tracy, like really having conversations continually about my personal brand and starting and just taking action. So by posting and talking about things that I was interested in, or I was passionate about, or I wanted to take a stand on, I started to realize patterns, that there were certain things that I kept speaking around. One is that I believe everyone can look great in photos. I don't think that there is this photogenic quality that some people are born with and other people can never have. Like, it's a learned quality. So that's a stand that I take. And that's something that I talk about continually. And the other thing was, and it was actually through a photo shoot that I did. Well, I went and had my photos taken. And it was a very well-known photographer who, she's amazing, but she's more of like a glamour photographer. And I realized, like, I realized that I am sort of the opposite of the way that my pictures portrayed me when I really got into it, because I want to be approachable. I want to be like enthusiastic, and I'm a cheerleader for my clients, right? And these pictures were so like perfect and glamorous. And so there's a couple that I use from that shoot, but I realized after that, like, oh wait, that's not how I want to be portrayed. So sometimes getting the opposite can be clarifying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, because one of the things that I speak a lot about lately is is this right? Is this what I would do? Does this feel like me? Right? Just the asking of those questions. And we're not always going to get it right. Unfortunately, we don't have this lifetime of practice, which hopefully I'm going to give my son, about figuring out what we would do, what is right for us. We have these boxes that have been created for us by educational institutions and companies that we've worked for, and then we learn how to operate within the boxes. And then you see something and you're just like, it's like now when I look at my old headshots that I had done when I was in corporate, and I'm like, who is that? Like my hair is all, and my got the blazer on, and I'm not smiling, which was funny because I was talking to Jenny about this earlier today, and she's like, well, it's about people expressing their personality and everything. And she's like, it would be like if you went to a photo shoot and didn't smile. And I was like, this is what I had, because that's what headshots, corporate headshots look like, right? And I'm like, bleh.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Well, and I think when I first started my business, you hear this concept of a personal brand, and I felt like I had to have it all figured out before I could start posting, or all figured out before I could, do this or that. And the thing is, like, it's evolving and it's changing, right? Like our brands are evolving as we evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we forget as humans, this is what we're actually meant to do. We're actually meant to evolve. We're not meant to stay stuck. And this is as equally relevant to branding as it is to the rest of your life, right? Like, it's not, even if you look at all the brands, right? You look at Nike, Walmart, McDonald's, right? All of these brands that you're like, wow, they're like so classic. They've changed and updated their logos, updated their taglines throughout their life cycle as a brand, because they evolve as a brand. And that is the natural progression of a brand. So I like to remind people of that, because today you make a decision on what your logo should look like today, or your tagline should be today, or your pictures look like authentically today. That doesn't mean that you're locked down to that for the rest of your life. And heaven forbid, like me, I change my LinkedIn tagline like once every 2 months, because I'm like, I like this, it sounds better, right? Like I learned new words and I like this other combination. And there's the freedom. You have the freedom to do that. Your personal branding journey is ever evolving, and it will be until you die. So just get comfortable with the evolution. Okay, awesome. So I actually wanted to start off with the question of like 2-dimensional versus 3-dimensional, because we have all representations here. And Jenny specifically, because I know you've mentioned to me before the concept of taking something that's happening that's 3-dimensional, and the output is 2-dimensional. And there are different things that you need to consider when that is happening. And then we'll go to Lauren as well, because Lauren works in the 2-dimensional realm. And then we'll go to Melanie, because she works in the 3-dimensional realm. So we'll get all of the aspects there. But I'd love to start in what that might feel like for people when they're considering their photos, considering how they want to show up at a photo shoot, wherever you want to go with it.
That's really interesting, thinking about taking the 3D to the 2D. I think a lot of it has to do with posing, and I think that's also why people will sometimes think that they don't look good in pictures, because they just don't know how to position their body that's going to be flattering in a photo because it's different than the way that we see people in person, right? And so I'm constantly coaching people on how to do little things and little tweaks that are going to help them look more flattering on camera. So things like, you know, make sure your chin is pushed forward in a photo to give some separation, because a lot of times people are nervous and they come back like this, and you know what I mean? Like those like those kinds of things definitely help bring the 3D to the 2D more in a more flattering way. But it's also needs a lot more energy than you might think. And so you know how, like, I mean, for lack of a better phrase, like resting bitch face, right? If you are just stone faced looking at something, so even like, let's say we're taking a shot of you at your computer, you got to have a little bit of a smile on your face. Otherwise, you look kind of angry. And I was actually, I was saying this to Tracy a while back. I did headshots for a company. And so I'm photographing like 100 people in a day. And there are some people who refuse to smile. And when I'm going back and I'm processing these pictures, I mean, they look so mean. Like they look like a serial killer. And it's all just because they didn't give me a hint of a smile, right? It's so interesting that like that makes such a jarring difference. And in real life, I'm looking at them, they don't look that weird or that mean, but when you see it visually in a picture, it can be quite jarring. So there's got to be like an elevated energy when you're doing a photo shoot. And I think that's why it can be kind of exhausting. It takes a lot of energy and a lot out of you, but it's fun too.
If you have a good photographer, it's fun.
Yes, that's true.
So if you guys are in the Atlanta area, you should look up Jenny. But it's interesting because it's almost like the camera acts as a filter, right? So when something is happening through a camera, and it's probably similar in a Zoom scenario, right? Like there's a certain amount of smile and energy, and even like all the other things that come with a smile, right? Like my eyebrows go up, and like all of these other facial muscles that are attached to a smile. And those things, again, I don't know, have you guys ever been on like a Zoom chat where someone like takes a picture of the room, just like feel the energy, and you're like, what is this? It's not nearly indicative of the energy that's happening. And it's because the sound and everything is getting filtered out. And so to communicate that as best as possible, you gotta amp it up. It's the same reason why people wear like stage makeup when they dance on stage, right? Because if someone's going to see you from the back of an auditorium, you need big flashy eyelashes if you want them to see your eyelashes, right? It's the same thing. It's just like such a distance that people are dealing with. And on the other side of the camera, extra distance. So very cool. Let's look at it from the graphic design perspective, because really what we're saying ideally is that I have this personal brand of my own. I have an energy. I have a multi-dimensionality. And now I'm going to take it and decipher that into a two-dimensional image that is going to communicate the same thing. So talk to us a little bit about what your process looks like, Lauren, and what kind of inputs people need to have in order to make sure that they can get that energy and that personality across as effectively as possible.
Yeah, well, like, you know, what Jenny just said, you know, it is about, you know, you've got to be excited. You've got to really want to be kind of involved. Like I like clients to be involved as much as possible, because your business is, you know, is your baby, and you know, you're doing it every day. I would definitely say, like, it depends on like what clients come to me for, because I work very differently with clients if they say want a logo to somebody that say maybe wants business stationery or illustration. But again, I always say to clients, it's almost like it's like a therapy session when I first have like a first kind of call with them, because it is genuinely, I'm finding out about you, you know, what do you like, what do you not like, even down to the types of food that you like where do you like to shop, all these types of things influence the design for your business, right? Because essentially it is putting your personality into what you do. And there's no point in, you know, coming to me and going, yeah, I want a logo, or yeah, I want business stationery, or I want this or whatever, but they have absolutely completely no idea. And that's where the personality comes in, right? So it's really it's definitely an inclusive journey, from kind of project start to project end, really, which is interesting for some people and non-interesting for others. But yeah, when I know a client is getting really excited, then I know I've done my job right.
That's awesome. It's actually fun because I think that probably all of us would echo that sentiment, in that, like, when you get excited, that's like when we're winning. I want to just, before we go over to Melanie to talk about 3-dimensionality, I want some knowledge from you, Lauren, on when people think there's something specific their brand needs to be. So one of the things that I hear quite often is that, well, my brand is targeted at baby, it's baby stuff. And so I gotta have baby blue or light pink in my logo colors, right? Because otherwise people won't think it's baby. So how have you been able to deal with or talk some of your clients through, it's less about that and more about you?
Yeah, it definitely is. People are buying into you, and I think people get so kind of caught up on, you know, looking at their competitors. Oh, I know so and so is doing it like this, and they're using these colors and these fonts, and blah, blah, blah. And then you know, at the end of the day, like, what you've got to think about is, how are you going to stand out and stand above your competitors? Because essentially, if you're going to do what they're doing, you're going to hide behind them, right? And you're essentially helping them, because you're just you may as well be like their ambassador, you know, going out and helping them promote their business. So this is kind of, I think, what people kind of really, and I think probably, you know, as we all know, you know, business is a journey. And when we all start our business, I mean, we have this idea in our heads of what we want to do, but as soon as you start, it never kind of, it never is perfect. It never goes that way you want it to go, right? So that learning, working with people, trying out, oh, well, that didn't work out, we're not really fussed on, you know, maybe doing that, but oh, let's try this, you know. And it's probably only a year or so in that you then really start to see, you know, who it is you like to work with, you know, how am I going to approach these people? And actually, all along, people are buying into you. And that's all you need to do, is just show up as yourself, as your authentic self. And then through your design, that comes, you know, comes to light as well. So it's interesting kind of looking at how we all do it from different angles, right? Creatively, you know, to, you know, like visually and things like that. So it's really interesting. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I also love that you brought up the whole concept of being kind of a copy. If you're saying, this is my competitor is doing, and I'm going to be that, because I know we all have our opinions on what being a copy means. And me in particular, so one of my favorite things is art history. It's just a little side passion that I have. And if anybody ever allows me to be like the general manager of the Louvre, then all of you guys are out of luck and I'll just go do that. But there's a reason why originals are worth what they are and copies are worth what they are, right? It's because there's a value associated with being an original. And I think sometimes what people forget is that if you want to try to be someone else, you have to try and be something different than you are. But you don't have to try and be anything different to just be yourself. And the amount of effort it would take for someone else to be like you is a substantial amount effort. And then if you want to be like, okay, copycats, go to town and send people my way, great. Seems like a terrible plan, but okay. It's like, I just love that. An original is worth more than the copy, everybody. And I think this plays in really nicely to Melanie's signature styles, because a signature style is about you. It's not about someone else. And there is that now additional complexity of, we're three-dimensional. So when it comes to clothes and what we wear and how it fits and how it feels, there's a three-dimensionality that adds a little bit more complexity. So Melanie, talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges that people see with their signature style and how maybe we can move past those things.
Yes, thank you. We had a good conversation the other day about the two different ways of fit. You know, like one is obviously how clothes fit yourself. You know, like if they fit well, like if the sleeves sit where they should sit, if the trousers sit in the waist, or if they feel good, and so on. That's the overall fit of clothes, and they obviously fit when you work in corporate, but they didn't fit your personality. And that's why you started something different, you know, that fits your personality, and that's where you can show your personality as well with the clothes that you wear. And I think, and I, throughout my life, I mean, even when I grew up, I wore a lot of the clothes that were made by my mom, and then I made my own clothes, and then I worked in costumes. So it was always some kind of bespoke theme around wearing clothes. And then when I entered the corporate field, I felt quite similar to you. You know, suddenly you have something that is like a uniform. Everyone looks the same, and you can't bring in your personality anymore. That was really strange to me. So you asked earlier how I became first aware of personal brand. I think that's when probably the first disconnect happened, because it hadn't happened to me before, because I also grew up in Germany, where you don't have a school uniform, which you have here in England and the UK. That's also something different. So you could explore. But on the other side as well, a lot of what Lauren said resonated with me. So it is really a big listening and observation part when you get to know a client who wants to show up authentically and say, like, I want to show who I am, what I'm all about. The clothes I wear, they don't really reflect who I am, but I don't know how to do it. So you look obviously at the body shape and the fit and the colors that look good with the skin tone and so on, the contrast levels, but then you need to listen. And it's almost the opposite of talking a lot. You go inside, and a lot of what connects with you happens on a subconscious level as well. You know, I make a mood board and ask my clients to send me some pictures without lots of thinking about it, just saying like, oh, why you like it, maybe you like the mood of it, you like, you know, like the freedom it expresses or anything like that. But these are the pictures of your soul, and there's something in there that connects with you, and that comes also into your personal brand, you know, into your signature style. So it's really looking at it, picking out the parts that are important, putting the puzzle together so that it makes sense, and bringing it together so that to empower really that other person. So I'm not telling them, oh, you have to wear these clothes and so on. I'm telling them, or work with them and say, these are the colors that work well for you, and these are the styles that work for you, and here's a style board, and I can help you, but I want to empower you to wear and to choose the clothes that are an expression of who you are, you know. So that is what I'm trying to do. And I have a lot of technical knowledge, so I know so much about bodies, about fabrics, about how they're made and so on. So that's a good combination of this and the analytical side to show people how they can use their personal brand and express their personal brand in clothes, so in 3 dimensions. And obviously now with COVID, we've all been confined to 2 dimensions, but on the other hand, I got to know so many people from all over the world. You know, I would have never met you, Trace and Jenny, and Lauren as well, even though you're in the UK, you're not nearby. So there are also different rules. So I also worked with some photographers to learn how different clothes and different colors work better on a two-dimensional screen, you know, so that's super interesting as well. And textures and, you know, things that work in different ways. So.
And I think you said something really important there, Melanie, about how it's an expression of your personal brand. And really that is the entire theme of what we're talking about today, is using your style, using your design, using your photos as an expression. That's going to be a new thing, #photogs. As an expression of your personal brand, right? Like this, it is supposed to be an expression of you. And again, I want to talk about the two-dimensionality of Zoom for a minute. And I also just wanted to remind everybody that if you're watching live and you have questions about the topic, please feel free to post them in the chat or the comments if you're on Facebook, because we would love to answer your questions as well. When it comes to Zoom, because like you see how much you see of me in my Zoom screen, right? And I don't have fancy equipment that changes my angles. I have my laptop, right? I have my laptop camera. And since I started doing most of my work on Zoom, one can imagine that the bottom half of you becomes less important in terms of the visual style. But something that really started to stand out for me was how I like to be, like this part of me, how I like that to be perceived, in the types of shirts that I would wear, where I'm like, oh, that just, it's not my ideal look on Zoom. And I actually just got like a whole bunch of new shirts that are like my Zoom shirts when I'm recording, because there's something fun about them. So I have this one with like the little frillies on the sleeve, and I have some with like frilly necks or lacy sleeves. And because I think I have small shoulders, and I like that there's a little bit, something interesting. But this is not that there's like one rule about that, right? It's not like everybody, because you're only now on Zoom, should wear leggings and fancy tops, right? Like, you still have to do you. It's your expression. So whether that, but the whole point I'm trying to make with this is that it evolves over time. I will tell you, still to this day, if I'm going out and I'm going to an event or something, I love a high-waisted pencil skirt. It's my favorite go-to bottom. But sitting in a chair all day, it just is like not hugely necessary, right? And I have a couple for when I go out, because as of Thursday, we're open for business again. Yay, #COVID. But it just is not, I don't need that, right? Like, I can just wear some comfortable pants on the bottom. And I keep thinking I should do this like Zoom outfit blog post so people can see what it is that I'm wearing, because they're like, I have this collaboration that I'm working on, and these two gentlemen was like, I talked to them at like 6 o'clock in the morning because they're in the UK, and they're like, "Do you get ready for this?" And I'm like, "This is exactly why I have these shirts." It's like a t-shirt, but it's got like a nice little knot at the collar, so it looks fancy, but it's not, and it's comfy, and it's machine washable, which is like critical when you have a 3-year-old at home. And it just fits my life. It just fits my life so perfectly. And that is what all of these things are supposed to do. They're just supposed to fit you. And so when you get, I'm lucky because my sister dabbles in graphic design. And so when I started my business, I was like, can you create a logo for me? You know what I'm all about. And the logo I got back from her was like, awesome. I was like, yep, perfect, love it. And I still have it. And maybe one day I'll get something fancy from Lauren, but because the point of it is that I feel like it's a reflection of me. It's simple, it's got colors I like, right? Like, that's all it is. And there's also something too, especially when it comes to graphic design, and Lauren, I'd love your opinion on this, is that if you like it, when you like it and you can get behind it, you get excited about it, you create that feeling for other people. So by nature, I like to use Apple as an example for this, right? Like, by nature, a little rainbow colored apple doesn't mean innovation. Apple has made that logo mean innovation. So now when you see it, you think innovation, but that's not because of what the logo is doing in itself. It's because of the brand experience that is being created. And you can use that logo as kind of like a champion, like something everybody can get behind, but it's still the experience that the customers are getting is rooted in the brand.
Yeah, there's always, I think there's a debate as well that, you know, is anything actually always ever new? Or, you know, due to how we all differently see things, it's just like innovation. We're just refreshing, creating something new. But because we all have different outlooks on life from our own perspective and our own experiences, then that in effect can create something new, right? So yeah, I would say, you know, I have clients come to me and they're just like, oh, some of them, oh, right, yeah, I really know what I want. Yeah, blah, 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 great, easy, go. Other people, you know, are really just don't know what they want. They're just all over the place. And so that is one of the reasons why I like to involve clients, because when they're part of the journey, it's that feeling, and that's what it's about the journey. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm here now, I'm here. It's that bit in between. You know, how do you get to that journey? It's like running a business. You know, we all fail, we progress, but nothing is a fail. We're all just learning. So that journey is really important for clients to understand. And I think understanding that input into the design, how it's done, you know, they almost feel like they've done it as well. So that feeling, that you know, it enhances it as well. And then after working with me, you know, they're more kind of inclined to want to show up and, you know, show this new branding off, because, you know, they're proud of it. And that's the point, right? I know that I've done my job right when that happens.
Oh, I love this, because now we're talking about feelings, and it's my favorite thing to talk about.
You know, isn't it? About feelings, you know, we all buy based on what we want, not what we need, right? But it's that feeling that you get from that item, which is why we buy it.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about the feelings from the photography perspective, Jenny, because this is also you've told me lots of times people come in and they're feeling nervous and they're not quite sure to expect. And then if that's what you end up catching on the camera, that's usually not the correct manifestation of someone's personal brand. So what are some tips maybe that you have to bring the feelings with you to your branding photo shoot?
Yeah. I mean, and it's a learned skill, right? Like, unless you are an influencer and you're spending all of your time in front of your phone or your camera, it's not something that we do every day. And yeah, I think being prepared before your shoot can help a lot. And just in listening to both Lauren and Melanie talk, I'm most successful when the client has already been to Lauren and to Melanie. You know what I mean? Like, they've gone through their branding, they've worked through all of that with the designer on like what the feel of their brand is and the colors of their brand and how they want to be perceived. They've done a lot of that work, and I do that work with them as well. But it's very helpful when that's already done. And then when they've worked with a stylist to really know like what's going to look good on them, what's going to make them feel confident. Mm-hmm. So having done that prep work of like bringing clothing to the shoot that helps them, like, oh yeah, like have you ever put on a really nice blazer that just fits perfectly and you're like, yeah, I can take on the world. Like, that's the feeling that I want people to come into a shoot with. And a lot of that has to do with preparation. So feeling prepared, knowing what to expect. So I do a lot of work with my clients ahead of time so that they don't feel, you know, lost and nervous on the day of the shoot. Also, and it's the simplest, but it's the answer to so many things, take a deep breath, because a lot of us will, we get nervous, right? Like, and the tension is in our necks and our shoulders and in our eyes and our eyebrows. And so just like taking a second to like, and you'll probably have to do it several times throughout the shoot. Just stop, maybe shake it out. Also, making a playlist of like really empowering songs. That really helps me. I love Lizzo. That woman oozes confidence. Whenever I listen to her, I'm like, oh, I got this.
That's right up my alley. The whole playlist. We like, this is what I do for fun. Like seriously, this weekend I was like, I'm gonna make a summer playlist because I need like fun summer songs because it's so hot here right now. And everybody has their own thing, right? So like, but these are just some. Think about the things that you have done in your own past that like allowed you to shake it out. I'm actually shaking my hands out right now.
It's shaking it out.
You got to get you hold stress in your body, right? So like shaking it out, a couple jumping jacks, right? Like a little dance. I spoke on a summit last week, and between every single session they had like a dance break, and I was like, oh, nice. It's like I knew this was where I was meant to be. But like that's the point. It's like it gets you just like a little bit more, and me, like I'm a dancer, so it gets me just like right to the core of my personal brand, right? Like, great, now I'm not thinking about anything else. So think about what are some of those things that have worked for you in the past, and bring those as tools with you in your toolkit when you go to your photo shoot. Or like it could even be if you're doing a panel session and you're not, or a podcast interview or something that you're not used to doing. Like you have these tools in your toolbox and you can use them whenever.
Yeah, I think it's a lot about the team, isn't it? Like, and the photographer, because I've used to do a lot of photo shoots with my bridal company when I ran my bridal couture business, and it's such a big difference if the vibe is good, how the pictures come out, no matter how good the photographer is on a technical level. But if it all works and gels, everyone gels, then you get fantastic pictures. And sometimes it works and sometimes doesn't. I can see with Jenny that she really makes people feel comfortable, and you just bring this out in people when you take the photos. You make them smile, make them feel comfortable, and I think that's what we are trying all to do, to bring out the comfort, to make them comfortable in a way so that they can show up as themselves and don't feel that they have to pretend to be someone else or hide behind a different person's label, so that they have the confidence to show their real personality. So yeah, I think
I think that's a great point, Melanie. And I think that oftentimes service providers underestimate that power that they have, right? Being able to create a space, whether you're interviewing someone for a
Now I can't.
Sorry about that, guys. My internet is terrible right now. But I just wanted to emphasize that point.
You're still
Am
there.
I back? Like,
Yeah.
going away. Okay.
Oh
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm back again.
You are.
You're back.
Okay. I'm getting that your internet connection is unstable. I just wanted to emphasize the point that as service providers, we have the opportunity to create that feeling, right? We're talking about our clients coming to work with us and being able to freely feel their feelings. And unless we are willing to be a space for them to do that, then like it's a lot harder for them. So there's ways that we show up as service providers that allow us to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's something that I spend a lot of time working on, is trying to be a safe space, because people feel very vulnerable when they're in front of the camera. And so I want to make sure that they feel comfortable. And it's, some people need more coaching than others in that area. But everyone needs a little bit.
Definitely. Awesome. So Melanie, from the style perspective, I'd love to get a couple of tips from you in terms of if people right now are feeling like they don't really have a style that reflects who they are and is a signature style for themselves. What are a couple of tips that you have where people can kind of get started or get their feet wet?
So I think a mood board is a good place to start, like not one with clothes, but like just the images from nature, art or architecture. That's good. So just put a few pictures together and you might see that there are certain things that really connect with you and you think like, oh, that's the color, really have a tendency to pick all this blue. There might be something in it, or some themes, like you have like something with adventure and so on in it, like, so there might be something in it that connects with you, and you will find that later on again that it comes back through the way you dress. But then the other thing is really you look at yourself and you think like, how would I describe myself? What are the 3 qualities I would describe myself with, like what am I all about? Pick 3 adjectives to describe yourself. And think about it, because you need to do probably some deep digging when you do that. And you might come up with a lot of things, but then you think like, oh, what am I all about? What is important to me? What are my values really? And once you've done that, and because it's also all about your personal brand and your business, it's like, how do I want to be seen? What do I want to communicate? You can do the same. You can pick 3 things that you think like, that's how I want to be perceived. And after you've done that, you start working on a picture that might come up slowly, and think like, so that's how I want to be seen. And these clothes reflect that, there is a connection in that. So I think that's the most important part. So it's not just like styling when I say like, okay, you're a summer, winter, spring or so, you can wear these colors, that's who you are. It's not a one size fits all. Everyone is very different. We're all individual, and it's about bringing that out. So it's about like thinking, who are you? And how do you want to be seen? How do you want to come across? How do you want to communicate yourself to the world? And I think that's really important. And then you look at your mood board as well. Then I think when you then go and look at clothes, you have a different eye you choose things with. And if you need some help, then you can come to me.
I don't know where you guys see Melanie. I see Melanie over there.
But with you as well. I remember we did the Rate Your Closet, so which was more like a listening exercise, because you knew what was there. And I think a lot of people know deep down what is there. That's why it's like giving people the space, to look at themselves and see who they are, and then helping a little bit with some guidance, say, look what's there. You can help them see what is obvious to me. I can show them then, so the red thread that's running through it all.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the important caveats I want to add to Melanie's piece is that there's sometimes shoulds will creep in there, right? So when you're thinking of the words that describe yourself or how you want to be perceived, a lot of times people will be like, well, I should want to be perceived this way, or I should like this if I'm going to attract this right type of person. And that's not part of the exercise. There's no shoulds in this. The way to get to the answer quickest is for you to be honest. Be honest with yourself. This is who I am. This is what reflects me. And one of the best things that I've done that I find helps me is when somebody describes you a certain way and you love it, then use that, tap into it. There's a reason why you love it, right? So one of the things, my favorite things that people call me is refreshing. And besides making me think of Mountain Dew, it always, like, I love that. I love providing people with a refreshing perspective. I like that people think that about me. And so when you've had, especially if there's things that, enthusiasm is another one that I get often, right? When people say these types of things about you and you like it, like embrace that. That's a part of your personal brand that you like, and it's coming across naturally anyway. So that's kind of just a little sneaky bonus Tracy insight into where you can find some of those answers. Okay, Lauren, before we go to your tips for takeaways, Denise has a question. So Denise is asking, one of the main points of her brand is self-love and acceptance, which is beautiful. That's awesome. I try to go live on Instagram or in my videos without makeup. What suggestions would you have around messaging, presentation, and lighting, if you have any? Does anybody have, let's start with lighting, because there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Does anybody have tips? I know, Melanie, you've done some work with photographers, like kind of who work over Zoom or kind of coach through Zoom. Do you guys have, or Jenny, do you guys have any tips when it comes to lighting, especially if you're not wearing makeup?
Natural light.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no. Jenny is the person who's the expert. So it's just.
No, yeah, I think you were saying exactly what I was going to say, which is natural light, especially if you're not wearing makeup. And I think that's really beautiful and lovely, and I love that. I think that natural light is the most is soft. So if you can position yourself in front of a window. And if the light is too harsh, sometimes you can put up a little bit of diffusion, just like some slightly sheer white fabric. You could pin up in front of the window if it's too harsh. I would say I love a ring light if you don't have access to a window, but I've found that can be a bit harsh and really wash you out if you're not wearing makeup. But again, I mean, it's probably the most flattering light other than natural.
And one of the things that I would say, if you guys can't tell, I'm pretty pale. So everybody has their natural skin tones as well. One of the things that Melanie does often is like color, like helping you with the color, whether that's like background behind you or colors of your shirts, just to set that off in the most pleasant way, and not in just a way of like, oh, now I have to wear this color that I hate, but that you can start wearing more of the colors that you love that also balance your skin tone. So like today I'm wearing olive green, which I actually learned from Melanie is one of my favorite Zoom colors because I have hazel eyes and it makes my eyes look green, and I think it balances what can come off as often as like a very pale skin. So there are lots of balancing you can do there too with color, and Melanie is your gal for color. In terms of messaging and presentation, I mean, we've all really talked about energy and feelings today, and Melanie spoke about the feeling you get when you wear your clothes. So if you have like a power shirt, and this doesn't mean, a lot of times when people are talking about power clothes, they're talking about blazers and suits and things like that, but everybody actually has different types of power clothes. And if you guys have been on my website, I have a denim shirt on, and I have this denim shirt that I wear with this gold skirt, which I love because I feel like it's kind of fancy, kind of casual, and just a very good representation of Tracy. And so the point is that when I wear that outfit, I feel the most like Tracy. And so the likelihood that my messaging and my presentation will feel to someone else the most like Tracy when I feel the most like Tracy is very high. And so it really is tied a lot to the energy and the feelings, versus I will specifically speak to messaging in that I don't believe in perfect messaging. I don't think there's one right message. I don't think telling people that you're authentic means as much as being authentic, right? So when you show up without makeup, by default, that's saying something to people. It's also giving them a level of confidence in you, unless you don't have that level of confidence. So now if you're like, oh, I'm showing up without makeup, I don't feel confident doing that. That's a practice and a mindset, right? Of saying like, I've said this so many times over my career as a personal branding coach, is it really that I can't help you? Can I help you less if I'm wearing glasses and have my hair in a ponytail? versus wearing my contacts and having my hair down and curled. No, I can help you the same. And so I think that speaks to my authenticity. Some people probably don't agree, but they're not my people. And so it's also this concept of knowing who you are, knowing that there are people who will feel that from you and believe that when you authentically represent it and show up saying the things you want to say in the look that feels good for you. And if they don't like it, they're not your people. Denise, if you have any follow-up questions or if you'd like us to provide any additional information on any of that, please let me know. And while we're waiting for that, let's go to Lauren to give us some tips of, Nick, now we're looking at visual representation, and I would love to maybe get a tip for people who are maybe trying to do it themselves. So if you're early in your business, you're trying to create just something to have as a logo. What's something that maybe a do-it-yourselfer can do, and what's something you have to take into consideration when, okay, now you're going to have someone professional like yourself do a design for me?
Yeah, well, it's mad how we all kind of link, you know, the types of things we need to do. It all kind of links, you know, like with what Melanie said, mood boarding completely, you know, because it's the same, it links. So, you know, it's like, it's almost like, you know, to work with all of us, these things need to be put in place to make it work to your utmost advantage as much as possible. And that is actually a tip for if you are doing it yourself. You can easily go on Pinterest and create your own mood board, right? And, you know, some people will just add loads of images on there and they're like, oh, is that for color? Is that for style? Like, what is that for? So like when you're on there, like create different boards for different things, you know, or this is competitors, this is for color, you know, so you know, section it like that, because then that's going to make it so much easier, you know, when you come to work with me or any of us, you know, and then we can elevate that, because you can add a new board for working with Melanie, you know, on your clothing, or, you know, working with Jenny. So, you know, it works both ways really. I would then say, which probably works for us all as well, having your ideal client in mind, you know, create that ideal client avatar. You know, there's no point in saying, oh, I really want a high level kind of looking brand, like, oh, I want my brand to look like Molton Brown or Tiffany and Co. And then, you know, your ideal client likes to go and shop at Aldi, you know, or somewhere. You know, it's got to, you know, be authentic and run through, right? And you're always revisiting this ideal client, you know, but it's really important to have there. And again, you can easily do that yourself. What else? I've got notes just in case. What was the other thing? The other thing was to really, you know, I think people find it really difficult to, you know, if you're going to look at this yourself, you know, if you can't afford to work with a brand designer or anybody to help you, you know, really analyze your competitors. You know, what are they doing? And then kind of look at yourself and go, what makes me different? What makes me stand out above these, you know, these people, these businesses, right? And even to how they create their own branding. You know, what is it about that you like? What is it about that you don't like? And to remember that you're not copying, you're not going there and going, oh yeah, I really like so-and-so, I'm going to do mine just like that. That's not what that's about. It's just getting inspiration. And I think probably the reason why somebody comes to work with somebody like me is because it's that creativity that I can implement into your business that you necessarily can't see, if that makes sense. You know, intuitive creative design is, you know, how do we put this and this together to make this, which helps you to be unique. And when you're doing that on your own, you're probably just looking at this and going, oh, I just don't know what I'm doing with this, you know, and then you just go ahead with it. And you know, hope for the best. And you know when it's not quite right, because you're going along and you're like, oh yeah, I really like it, but I'm not sure, I'm not attracting the right people. That's what I get all the time. Oh, I'm not attracting the right people that I want to that I want to work with. Oh, I'm not being paid the right amount, you know, that I would like to be paid, because you're attracting the wrong people. And it works however you show up in your photography, the way that you dress, and the way that you look. Unfortunately, that, you know, all this works together. And the final thing I was going to say about, you know, how you said, you know, what people say about you when they, you know, and to take that, I'm always kind of told that I was Zooming the other day in a networking group, and they said, oh, it was really refreshing to have you come on, you know, you're really fun and high vibe. And they said something like, compared to all the other people in the group. That quite made me laugh. I was like, oh, okay. But you know, that was quite nice to be, you know, because again, it's to be remembered. You know, you're networking with other 20, 25 people. You know, what is it that makes you stand out? Even me with my star shirt on, or you know, your lovely background, or whatever that might be, for you to stand out above somebody else that maybe they're doing what you do, they might want to buy into you because they go, oh, they look a bit different. So, you know, that's essentially, yeah.
Well, and I think this is, yeah, definitely. And this is so important, because different does stand out. And different by nature can stand out in a bad way for certain people, right? I like to use the examples. There's another lady that I follow on LinkedIn, a personal branding specialist, who her and I have very different ideas of what personal branding means. And it was interesting because I used to always comment on her stuff because I didn't agree and I wanted to give people an option to think of something different. But it was so interesting to see everybody who did agree. And I was like, wow, these are just not my people. So, which is fine, right? There will always be someone else who does what you do, right? There's lots of people who do graphic design. There's lots of people who do branding photography. There's lots of stylists, although I know Melanie hates being called stylist. She's so much more than that. And we all are, right? And this is the point, is that I deal in it. So I call myself a coach. There's so many people in my industry that are like, I don't resonate with the word coach because of whatever your background experience with other coaches. And it's fine. This is everybody's individual journey. And when you can tap into that, that is the secret of doing you. You have uniqueness. It is inside you already. Today, we're talking about that external manifestation of that and how to say, and take it from the inside and make sure we can get it visibly to the outside. So we can have other things that are kind of takeaway that can leave that same impression on a website or on a social post or where else where I'm not getting to show up live. And all of these things, Lauren, you nailed it on the head. The whole point where we're all talking about this today is that it is all connected. It's about the ability to show up as your authentic self and capture that. It's about capturing your authentic self. It's about wearing clothes that make you feel like your authentic self. It's about seeing those pictures from your photography session and getting excited about using them because they're going to show other people that's you. It's about getting your logo or other graphic design back and being like, yeah, that's exactly me. It's such a good representation. And unless we embrace all that you-ness that we have inside, we don't have the opportunity for it to be manifested on the outside. So do you guys, do you. With that, I just want to give each of our experts the opportunity to share with the audience and the people who will be watching on replay where they can best find you and connect with you if they have more questions or if they'd like to learn more about what you do. Let's start with Jenny.
You can find me most often on Instagram, and I am at Jenny Lynn Levine, Lynn 2 N's, Jenny Lynn Levine on Instagram, and that's the best way to connect with me.
Awesome. And Lauren.
Yeah, I'm the same as well. Instagram, you can find me on there. It's at Nell_creative_. and you'll see me come up. I am also on LinkedIn as well, but all my links and everything is on Instagram. So yeah, you can find me on there.
Awesome. And Melanie.
Yes, you can also find me only on Instagram. I'm also on Instagram, very visual. And you can find me under the Style Confident Closet. So.
Awesome. Shocker that all the visual people are on Instagram. And if you guys are new to me, I am Tracy Borison. I did not introduce myself at the beginning. I don't always remember that people don't know me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can try to find me on Instagram, but you will see very random posts on there. But I want to thank you guys so much. I want to thank everybody who watched live. I want to thank Denise for asking a wonderful question. I want to thank Jenny, Lauren, and Melanie for joining me today and having this wonderful conversation. I'm also going to give you guys a little sneak peek, because if you are in a space where you are really trying to work through your external manifestation of your personal brand, a crew of us are going to be offering a very special giveaway coming up in the summer. So it's not open for registration yet, but I'm just going to give you guys all a little sneak peek. We are going to be doing a personal branding makeover. Supreme makeover, I think is what we called it. The Supreme Personal Branding Makeover. And it comes with brand identity and styling and graphic design and photography. And so if you guys are in a place where that is something that you need to have, and you're like, oh man, I do really need all of these things, please reach out to me. Again, you can find me on LinkedIn. If you guys are on Facebook though too, like if you're watching live on Facebook, you can just message me directly on Facebook and I'll make sure that you guys get an application form. The applications are opening in August. So like I said, sneak peek, but since you guys joined us today, I wanted to do a little call out for that because it's going to be fun. And if you like us, then you'll like it. With that, I really appreciate all of you guys today. Thank you for joining us. If anybody is watching on the replay, especially on Facebook, please hashtag replay. Let us know that you watched. If you have any questions, all of our experts are also on Facebook. So if you're all watching on Facebook on a replay, you can just tag the people. I'll do a little comment underneath so you have everybody's links on Facebook. You can tag them and they can answer any additional questions that you have, or as they mentioned, you can follow them on Instagram. All right, everybody, with that, we will wrap up this episode of Permission to Do You. Stay tuned for the next episode, which will be coming in July, and be all focused on copywriting and how you can do you in your copy. If you guys want to make sure that you stay on top of that, please, again, message me. I will pop the link in the Facebook, but you can sign up to get the reminders for all of the sessions so that you don't miss any, or you can go to Permission to Do You on LinkedIn, or not LinkedIn. Don't go on LinkedIn. You won't find anything. Well, you will find me. So eventually you'll find something on YouTube. And all of the recordings are being housed on YouTube as well. So you guys can go there and subscribe to the page, and then you can get notifications whenever there's a new episode. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.